Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This podcast is brought to you by TeamTrade, a digital solution that helps you hire, optimize, and retain employees. Using psychometric assessments to identify more than 100 professional mindset traits, it gives instant reports you can use to build high-performing teams. Get 2 free profiles today, no commitment, no credit card required, at teamtrait.com. TeamTrait.com. Welcome to the Manage Smarter podcast with hosts C. Lee Smith and Audrey Strong. We're glad you're here for discussions on new ways to manage smarter, hire, develop, and retain talent, improve results, and propel team performance to new heights. This is the Manage Smarter podcast.
All right, Lee, we've been on the AI freight train for a while, and this thing is moving as quick as lightning, causing all kinds of new, groundbreaking laws, active litigation. How do managers do it? We here at Salespeople, we're going to have to update our employee handbook out of HR.
Sure.
On and on and on.
And I consult with people, particularly sales teams and executive leaders who, quite frankly, they know they need to do something. And so they're just scrambling, trying to do something. Sometimes they latch onto the shiny new toy, that opens up a Pandora's box. Or it's a black box in this case, actually the better term to use. And, so what we have to do is we have to take a look at how this affects HR and how this affects liability and the reputation of the company. So I'm thrilled that we have the guest on today that we do.
We are so lucky to have him. Welcome to Manage Smarter, everyone. My name is Audrey Strong. I'm the Senior Vice President of Communications and Sales Fuel.
And I'm C. Lee Smith. I am the CEO and founder of Sales Fuel.
And he's here to save us and sort this all out. Seth Kugler, an attorney from Grellas, Shah, a very experienced business litigator in the tech space with focuses on corporate governance, fiduciary duties, unfair competition, and developing law surrounding the business of AI, as I mentioned. And who better to talk to us about AI and tech legal issues for our listeners is Seth. And why? Because he's coming straight out of Silicon Valley. Are you sitting in Cupertino, sir? At the moment,
I am not. I'm sitting in my office in San Francisco right now, but close enough. I would say we're seeing more of the startup community move up to San Francisco lately anyway.
Interesting. Well, thanks for coming today. We have been waiting to talk to you. And Lee, you had a certain area you wanted to start with. We have a lot to get through in 20 minutes.
I've got a few, but when I'm coaching sales teams and business leaders, I often talk about the need then to have a responsible AI policy, or what's also known as an ethical AI policy. And they look at me like I have 3 heads, or they say they do, but they can't articulate it. And in some cases, they think they have one, but they don't have one. So explain then for our listeners who are managers and executive leaders and everything like that, what it is, why they need it, and why does their employees need to be able to explain and understand it.
Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me. This is exciting to be on. So you're talking about an ethical AI policy. There's kind of 2 types of AI litigation that we normally see.
Okay.
One of them is copyright holders suing the AI developers for copyright infringement of their works. Training the AI usually, although not always, as we can see in some of these recent cases. But then there's another type of AI litigation that gets quite a bit less press, but is actually a lot more relevant to most business leaders outside of the AI space. And that's why it's important to have an ethical AI policy, because people are getting sued for using AI in making employment decisions. Hiring, promotions, et cetera. There are numerous AI tools being marketed to the marketplace right now that help with those sorts of decisions. And a lot of them don't necessarily pass muster under anti-discrimination laws. And while the companies pushing these AI products may have kind of assumed that the discrimination laws weren't going to apply to them and may even be
Wow.
marketing
Yeah.
themselves to employers in that way, that has turned out not to be true. And it's very interesting, actually, that you're having me on today. It's kind of a perfect day because today is the day that California, the largest state in the country, has its AI regulations going into effect regarding the use of AI in employment decisions.
Oh, wow.
Um, I think to start from the beginning, uh, earlier this year and last year, there was some discussion about perhaps a federal preemption of AI law, meaning that states aren't allowed to regulate AI. I believe the
Mhm.
government was suggesting that perhaps they would pull broadband funding from the states if the states tried to regulate AI. That did not end up making it into the omnibus spending bill that was passed earlier this year. So immediately after that, Colorado passed the first comprehensive AI regulation bill in the country. Um, New York City, although not New York State yet, had already passed something specific to using what are called automated employment decision tools in terms of hiring decisions. Colorado decided they're going to step in and regulate the whole industry. They have been receptive to business concerns and have pushed off implementation of that now until some point in the middle of next year, at least, so that the legislature can come back in session, which I believe makes California the first significant state to be implementing something. And the main thing that employers need to be concerned about here is that if they are using an AI that has either discriminatory inputs or looks at things in a way that may appear colorblind or gender blind on the surface.
But it was
Uh,
trained with bias.
well,
Yeah.
there's two different things that could be a
Hmm.
problem there. It could be trained with bias, or it could train itself to be biased as an
Yeah.
artificial intelligence
Wow.
tool during the time that you're using it. If you're trying to hire more managers to a company that has 95% male managers, then it's automatically, well, not automatically, as we'll see, but some tools would automatically then assume that there's an obvious benefit to having men be managers at the company because that's why we have 95% male managers so far. I think we all know that that's not necessarily true, but the AI can't really take a step back and look at things in all instances. I do think there are some AIs that are being developed with this in mind. The New York City law has been implemented for some time now. So I am aware that there are certain AI creators that are trying to work around this. But if you're an employer using AI software, that's something you really want to be thinking about in advance.
That actually leads to another issue that particularly broadcasters have with the midterm elections coming up, presidential election a couple years after that, that how AI impacts political advertising, and you think about the deep fakes and all the things that you're able to do there, and what you have is the challenge of having all these different laws in all these different states, and there's not one federal source of truth that you can basically point to and build your advertising around. I mean, there's some obvious things, that don't put words in other people's mouths and everything like that. I get that, but uh, what do you, how do people navigate this whole possibility of having all these different laws in different states, locales, and everything like that to make sure that they are on the right side of it?
I think it's actually going to be quite difficult for the time
Yeah.
being. And I think that's why the federal government was trying to come up with a comprehensive plan. Uh, they couldn't end up doing that. So now it's going to go to the states, and there's going to be these disparate laws like you're suggesting. But the good news is that they're mostly kind of headed to the same place with regards to the elements of the law that a normal business owner is going to need to be thinking about on an everyday basis. Basically, you know, don't use a tool in a manner that would violate the state's anti-discrimination laws or federal anti-discrimination laws if you were using a human to do the same role rather than using AI. And you know, this can be an issue for even the AI companies now too, as we're seeing.
That's ironic.
The Mobley v. Workday case. Basically, a California court has now decided, at least for the time being, until this goes up on appeal, that a company selling AI software to make employment decisions is an employer under the terms of the anti-discrimination law. So, you know, a lot of my clients are startups working with AI, and they need to be concerned now about anti-discrimination laws, not just with their own employees, but in the way their customers use their product. And then, of course, it's always going to be an issue for the employers. The number one way that an employer can protect themselves, though, and we're seeing this in the New York law, the California law, and various other laws that are likely to be passed soon, is just anti-bias testing ahead of time. If you can do the work ahead of time to see under hypothetical situations how your software that you're using would play things out, then you can go into a court if you do get sued later and say, no, look, here, we did the work. They can claim discrimination, but that's not the reason they weren't hired. We have shown through these other examples and through extensive testing in advance before we use this software for any actual decisions that we are able to use this software in a way that is not discriminatory.
That's great advice. We've got, you know, a lot to talk about. We've talked about hiring. Can you talk about privacy violations and data security failures or wrong information showing up online in searches that's bad for the company reputation? What's going on with that, and what can you do about it?
Yeah, I think those are kind of two different issues. I'll start with the second one. I think another part of an AI policy, besides, you know, don't be giving the AI discriminatory inputs, don't be using a potentially discriminatory AI for employment decisions at like a middle manager level. But yeah, there also needs to be a policy around not relying on things that you get from AI. Because while I think we'll see that AI is going to improve significantly over the next few years, it's not there yet in a lot of industries. I can tell you, using it as a lawyer is a real potential for disaster.
There have been several
you are already
instances.
An advanced lawyer who's checking its work like it's a very junior associate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But something that I'm not sure a lot of people understand about most of the AIs that are out there is that they're aiming to please.
They're people pleasers. AI is a people pleaser.
Yeah, it's going to try to guess what answer you want to your question and figure out a way to give you the answer that you want. And that is, you know, particularly troubling if you're working in a field like the law or medicine or something. But that can be a major issue if you're trying to research certain historical data points in your own industry, whatever those may be. AI is not necessarily a source of truth. And while it may get there, it's not there yet. It's just not anywhere close to asking an experienced practitioner in the field the same question.
Yeah, and developing your critical thinking skills as a human being are absolutely essential if you're going to be using AI.
Yeah, and I think as AI becomes more and more prevalent over the next few years, we're going to find that the people who have more critical thinking skills become more and more valuable.
And you should require your employees, if they're using it as part of their work, to human verify what it spits out before they, just as a daily process, as a
I think
requirement
that's
if you're a
fair.
manager,
Yeah,
since
I
we have
you know,
managers listening.
the specifics of a policy are really dependent on the nature of a specific
I
business.
know.
But I think employees should at least be encouraged heavily to
Okay.
be checking work with other humans.
That's a good segue, Audrey. You mentioned started off the show about the need to update an HR to update the employee handbook. So, Seth, what advice would you give to an HR department then that is looking for ways to update that company handbook then to cover AI?
Like what should the sections be, or do you have any thing in your head that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's the discrimination piece that I've already touched on is probably the most important thing because that's where you're really going to get opened up to big liability potentially. But I think it's also worth thinking about at a high level C-suite head of HR level about what are things that you are not going to trust AI on within your business and maybe explicitly bar using AI in certain situations. I think particularly if you're bringing in a lot of employees who may not have a lot of prior experience using AI into a job where they might want to gather some insights from AI, I think the more you can spell out best practices for how to prompt AI and how to assess AI's output, the better off you are. And as I mentioned earlier, I think, I can think of things that we're going to want to put in our own AI policy here as we develop it at our law firm, where we're just saying you cannot use AI for this while working here. And if you do, that's a violation of your employment agreement, and we're not taking responsibility.
The wheels are turning in Mr. Smith's head as you talk, Seth. He knows what he wants to start applying that to.
Well, the other thing I was thinking about is that, you have this issue of the shadow AI, which is, the employment agreement basically says, okay, you can use these particular AI systems and only these particular AI systems, but a fair chunk of employees are basically going around and using other unauthorized AI systems to help them with their work. Is this something that you see, frequently, or is this a relatively new occurrence?
It's not something that I see frequently. I can't say for sure whether we've put in an AI policy yet at our firm, but we are pretty tight about the way we control our employees using AI. I think what you're talking about is valuable, and additionally, there's kind of an issue that you are getting at. I'm sorry. Can you repeat your earlier question, Audrey? The first part of it.
It was Lee. It was
No. The first part of you asked a two-part question earlier.
Oh yeah. I can't remember going back. I guess if we could just move on, maybe the thing Lee, are you asking if you should just prescribe in the handbook you can use Perplexity and ChatGPT and no other?
Yeah, well,
there's like 8 or 9 AI platforms.
Well, that's the thing. Some employers are already doing that. And those that are doing that, then it's being reported that essentially their employees are going around and using other AI tools in secret.
Oh.
And what are the ramifications of that? And then how should that be enforced at a company?
So again, I think you could certainly enforce that. One of the big concerns that we haven't spoken about yet is private company data going out into the AI. And that would be the main reason that I can think of why someone would want to implement the type of policy you're talking about. It is important for certain companies, like a law firm, to have a closed environment of data where their AI continues to get trained after the firm starts using it, but only by the firm's data and only within the firm. It's not going out further. It becomes a closed environment once you bring it into your company.
Okay.
And I think that that could be valuable for a lot of different companies that have to keep a really tight fist around their data. Um, I think I think saying that you have to use a single AI provider is not only a good idea, it's probably necessary in a
Okay.
lot of environments. And I think there need to be consequences if somebody is using AI outside of that, because I mean, that could be a serious breach of data security. I think, most of my clients have their employees sign what's called a confidential information and inventions assignment agreement at the time they start working there. And that usually has really tight requirements about what you're allowed to do with company data. So I'm not even sure there would need to be additional policies put in
Okay.
place. I think a lot of times using AI other than a company's internal prescribed AI would by itself be a violation of those CIIAs, as they're called.
That's great advice, particularly keeping it all internal. Grellas.com is the law firm's website, and it's GRELLAS, Grellas Shah. We've got a couple minutes left. Lee, I'll let you take the last question.
So what due diligence do you believe that managers and management in general perform when they're I can't say that, buying an AI solution from a third-party vendor, to ensure compliance and mitigate risk? I'm thinking about all these people now that says, oh, we have AI and we're AI enhanced and we're AI powered and everything like that. So, what should a manager do to actually make sure that that AI stuff that they have baked in is actually not going to get them in trouble?
Well, I think it depends on what you're using the tool for. I think you need to be particularly careful and probably consult an attorney, given how regularly the law is changing, if you're planning to use that AI for employment decisions. If you're planning to use the AI otherwise, I think you want to look at not only what do they say about what they're doing with your data, but you want to look at their track record too, because what we're seeing in a lot of this AI litigation is some of the larger AI companies just lying about what they're doing with the data. I know, the Reddit v. Anthropic lawsuit involves Reddit having told Anthropic not to scrape their data for training anymore, and Anthropic saying that they wouldn't, and then Reddit finding significant evidence that this was still happening, even though they
Wow.
were following Anthropic's prescribed procedures to stop it from happening. So you'll want to look at not just what they're advertising, but also their track record of data security. And I think that's generally true whenever you're giving anyone your data, but it has really shown itself to be a major problem with AI over the past couple of years.
Well, if you need an attorney, Seth, are you taking new clients? This podcast obviously is global. We have listeners from overseas and everything. Tell us about Grellas, because do you only take California clients, or can anybody reach out to you?
I'm sorry, you broke up for a moment.
Do you take only California clients if people would like to reach out to you, or do you operate in all 50 states? How is Grellas set up?
No, we represent a wide variety of clients around the country, and even internationally.
Oh, good. Okay.
When they're dealing with the California courts in some way, or
okay.
American courts in some way. I practice in federal courts around the country and in state courts in New York and California, with a little bit of state court work other places sometimes when necessary. But yeah, I think we're very much a national firm in terms of, well, most of our attorneys are based here in Silicon Valley because that's where most of our clients are. We do also have attorneys in New York and in the Boston area as well. And we've worked for clients from Europe and China in addition to American clients.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for coming today. This has been fascinating, great tips. And I feel like Lee, the second we hang up with Seth, like we have a lot to get done. Like I'm just literally going to listen to this over again and start checking off all the things that we need to be doing. Seth.
And with the people that I consult and coach, where we're ahead of the game somewhat. So it's like, and we've still got a lot to do. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough trying to keep up with all this, right? So it's like, Seth Kugler, glad to have you on the show. And thank you for sharing your insight. And we're going to get to work now.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more great information at salesfuel.com.
Every minute your finance team spends wrestling with data is a minute lost. Insight Software's AI-powered insights instantly move you from complexity to clarity. Automated analysis, real-time reporting, strategic recommendations, all at your fingertips. Transform how your finance team works and watch your business grow. Stop wasting time. Start making smarter decisions. Learn more at insightsoftware.com/AI.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.